go back to this first picture about the bridge. You have heard that the bridge has to be built between two stable points. What is also important that the bridge is not in any of those buildings on each side. Okay? I was very happy when Annick also used the picture of the bridge on the last slide, 3 bridges. It is probably an intuitive understanding that this is the metaphor that can be used about corporate universities. What I want to go back to is the knowledge types that were indicated by Zoltán in that various routes of getting from available knowledge to applied knowledge. The origin of this model is that we are doing some kind of course for the executive board of a Hungarian telecom company. And we realized that they cannot understand that it is not only second-hand facts and statements that qualifies as knowledge. And we had to convince them that their intuition arising from that all accumulated experience over many years, that it is also a valid type of knowledge. So that was the first two, and then we said, okay, skills are also present because executives need one skill, but they need that one skill very badly, and it is communication. Now, if I try to show you what are these various knowledge types. You have seen the know that, it corresponded to that strategic document in case of the dramatic change. Now, know that is all these second-hand facts and statements. So, for example, it is not about truth, it is about controllability. So, if we ask, for example, the question, who killed JFK? The correct answer is Lee Harvey Oswald. Nobody knows whether it was Lee Harvey Oswald. There are much more people who doubt that it is true, but if you look up in the encyclopedia, this is the answer that you can see as correct. Now, in terms of facts, last night we went out, had a beautiful dinner, and I had this bruschetta du canard, and when I bite that food, that's the focal part of the fact, that experience what I had, all those tastes and everything. This is something that you cannot explain. I cannot explain to you now how it tasted. I cannot explain to you now here how it feels to kiss or to be kissed, unless you had experience of that before. But I don't need to explain it then, just mention it. So these are the two parts of the facts. In terms of skills, when we were going to that dinner last night, there was a guy with a bicycle, and he was drawing some very strange lines. Probably a couple of bottles of wine before that. And I'm pretty sure I wanted to ask him whether he can put on the differential equation of keeping balance. But Zoltán said that I should not do that because I don't speak French well enough. And anyway, I'm pretty sure that he cannot do that. But he can drive the bike. So these focal parts are a bit distinct from what we have in the subsidiary knowledge. So he does not need to have the subsidiary, still can do the focal. Of course, it is not always enough, because the skills can and have to be trained. But if you can type only with 2 fingers, and you practice a lot, that's the typical knowledge increase of skills. If you practice a lot, what can happen in the best case? You become the best or fastest 2-finger typist in the world. And ask your secretary that she is typing 10 times faster than you are. So what you can do, you can attend a short course when you learn how to hit those keys, and you can become much better in typing. Now, the very important thing what we want to talk about is intuition. There are 2 kinds of intuition that we managed to identify. One is the intuition of the leader. We call it a know-what knowledge, because it is about what is worth dealing with. So you can imagine these 2 guys, the top executive and the creative entrepreneur, they are talking about what to do. The executive has this know what, which is about what problems are worth dealing with, and the creative entrepreneur has the intuition of how to solve that problem. And they need this dialogue in order to get to some solutions that are valuable. Now, the problem with the knowledge is that it does not exist. Knowledge is a transient concept. What does exist is knowing. It is a process. It is always in action. And how these various types of knowledge get integrated in a particular action, that's what we call competence. Now, the problem with the concept of the competence is that it is usually misused and sometimes abused by those who are simply called knowledge traffickers. That would be like those who call their two-people consulting company a corporate university and similar. I want to understand the difference between being competent and being knowledgeable. You probably have seen some sitcoms about different geeks. Like if you have seen The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon. Now, he's the prototype of the knowledgeable, incompetent person. He has all the knowledge and has absolutely no chance to create the act of knowing. Okay? That's very important. The competence is an integrative concept. It is an actionable knowledge that is rising from all the accumulated experience. Yes, it does require a high level of knowledge, but that is not enough for it. It also integrates various types of knowledge. So he does not have, for example, those minimal social skills such as communication that would be important to put this knowledge into action. The other important thing is that the knowledge and the competence are different. That knowledge is one component of the competence. The competence is a relationship. It's a triad of the knowledge, the knower, and the context. So if I am competent in my current context, in my university, workplace, wherever, it does not mean that if they move me into a different context, I am facing similar problems, I have the knowledge, I still might not be competent. So this triad of relationship is incredibly important. And that will take us to this conceptualization of the corporate university that we want to offer. So the competence only makes sense in the context, which means that we need a kind of problem that the business professional is tackling, and that's happening in the reality of that corporate context. So we often say that at universities, I'm coming from that side. So at universities, we often promise that we are doing problem-based learning. We lie. We cannot do problem-based learning. What we really do could be at best called method-based learning. We teach them a method, a model, then we give them a text version of a task, and then we expect them to apply that model. This is what we usually call case studies. These are not case studies, but this is what you can take for example, from the Harvard case study book. 2 pages, give it to the students, and so on. This is not a real case study. The case study is what we had earlier today from Stefan, when he talks about how the sales people were trained in the Philips Lighting. Now, what is important here is that we are using the concept of the innovative organization, and we want the context of that organization to be where we locate the problem. When I was doing a review recently of a symposium, they said that let's look at what business schools can learn from medical schools. And it is that they can learn problem-based learning. That was their idea. Now, why it will not work, I will tell you 2 slides later. This is that context of the innovative organization, what we are talking about. You probably know the Prahalad model. So we are only talking about that purple area. So where the companies locate the innovation in the experience space. So it is experience innovation, where the loosely structured network of competencies, which is trans-functional and sometimes trans-organizational, is providing the competence for the innovation. Now, that's where we have we innovate the experience. We get the perfect innovation not through the product or through the solution, but through the experience. Now, the perfect innovation in this sense is not something where, for example, in Mozart's symphonies, when he said that nothing can be taken away and nothing can be added because it is perfect. The perfect innovation in this space is different. Nothing can be taken away from it, but you can add something. That is how the experience becomes integrated with your previous experience, and that is how it becomes a personalized innovation for yourself. So yes, we do add various components to those innovations. They are never finished, and that links back to never-ending betas mentioned by Zoltán. Now, after all this preparation, I can finally formulate more properly the initial question. So what I'm looking at is what are the respective roles of the university and the corporate university in achieving a competent business practitioner who is mixing those knowledge types appropriately in order to tackle the problems in those innovative organizations at the frontier of Prahalad's model. Zoltán already said that these universities that are good should provide those webs of concepts. It is pretty necessary. One of the smartest people we know, who is a psychologist and a mathematician, had a go at learning some business concepts, and he did achieve some sort of intellectual understanding of the comparative advantages. But as soon as he wanted to use it, he made a mistake. It is not only that you have the basic understanding of it, it is how you contextualize it. And universities, if they are good, do provide context, but that context is an intellectual context. That context is about those concepts, and don't think about something stable as a building. It is stable as like some sort of colorful bubbles that are floating on the water, and you are jumping from one to another. That kind of web of concepts we are talking about. And the validation of the concepts in these universities can happen through thinking. So you are thinking, you are playing with the concepts, putting them together. What happens if I put together the notion of e-business with knowledge sharing, what the communities of practice can add to this, and so on, so on, so on. Now, what the corporate universities can do, it is the other side of this journey towards the competence, is that they redevelop these concepts. One professor of mathematics I had before said that it is not important if you don't really understand those concepts of mathematics, you get used to it eventually, if you are a mathematician. Now, this getting used to it, applying it in real life context, so that's the context of what the corporate organization, a corporate university can provide, is a real life context in which we apply those concepts, and the validation is happening through praxis, and it does not matter whether it is academically sound or not. Now, I can tell you what I started to talk about before. What was the solution to this problem of what business schools can learn from medical schools? What they do in the medical schools, they have these university hospitals, and the students go there and learn there. And this is the model that they want to use, how we bring it over to the business school. Fail. Why? What is the university hospital like? It is a real hospital with real patients, real operations, real treatments, real drugs. It is a corporate university. It is not a traditional university. We cannot bring it over to the business schools, the idea. What we need to develop is that kind of dynamic relationship between the university and the corporate university to achieve this constant redevelopment of the concepts, constant recontextualization, and that is how knowledge increase happens. In this interplay between learning and experiencing, and that is how we can achieve the competent business executives. But I have a brilliant colleague, his name is Robert Chia, and he's running very frequently courses for top executives who come to the university, and his starting point is always, if you think that you will learn now how to solve the problems you have in your organization, you came to the wrong place. What you can achieve here is to briefly forget your problems, take the intellectual journey with us, and then you go back to your organization. Then you will have a different view of those same problems than previously. So back to the picture that you have already seen. This is our journey from the available knowledge to the applied knowledge. Thank you very much for listening.